I've seen it, like you see the Dollar Shave Club viral video and you just go, okay, I like this. I want to be a part of this, whatever that means. Oh, and then the cheap razors and they have shipping and people make emotional decisions and then they justify it or unjustify it with logic.
Yeah.
A high enough price point will have someone unjustify any decision. So, we have a good intro offer. We'd say it takes only 30 seconds. All that stuff is great. You need to want Krete, and then the fact that it takes 30 seconds matters.
Welcome to the Clear Brand Academy podcast, where we take the mystery out of marketing and help you get more leads and sales with a clear brand and proven marketing tactics. I'm your host, Josh Ramsey, and today on the show we have Jake Rosenberg. After graduating from the University of Pennsylvania with degrees in economics and math, Jake has been a successful serial entrepreneur with ventures spanning software, investment, and fashion. In 2019, he founded Krete after a ski accident left him with a scar on his face, and educating himself on the best skincare ingredients for eliminating redness, blemishes, and scarring. He came up with his own superior formula. And since then, Krete was born, and he has sold thousands of bottles of his flagship facial serum to guys who want to improve their skin in under 30 seconds. Hi, Jake. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. I kind of missed you when I was a teenager. I went through my own little nightmarish world of skin challenges. I remember a 7-year-old girl once looked up at me and said, "Josh, why do you have bee stings all over your face?" So I think your
skin looks great now. So yeah,
thanks, man.
We hear that a lot. Like that's why I started this because of a scar on my nose. But a lot of the people we help have really dry skin, they have signs of aging, they have acne, things of that nature. Stuff you can't, it's not your personality that gets you there. It's like, if you have a skin issue that's solvable, why not solve it?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think that's really leans into what I love and what we love about entrepreneurs at Clear Brand. We love supporting entrepreneurs, and we believe that entrepreneurs change the world. You saw a problem that wasn't getting solved to the level at which you could, and you started solving it, and the markets responded to that. Of course, a big piece of that is getting your message out. So
yes,
not a lot of guys are using skin cream. So what have you found? Like, how do you connect? How do you connect to these customers that might not even think they need something like this?
The first thing I learned was that this is from the software company I ran or the fashion company I ran. You never really want to make people have to change their worldview or change their behaviors, at least conceptually. You always want to say, hey, you're already doing these kinds of things, or hey, you already want this kind of result, be it to look better, take care of yourself, whatever it is. So why not do it better? Uber didn't tell you to do some crazy new thing. They said you already need a cab to get around. What if it was just better in payments and GPS would come to your house and yada yada. They revolutionized in a couple of fronts, but it wasn't inventing a behavior. People were already taking cabs. So that's what we're trying to do with skincare. It's like guys already shave, guys already get haircuts, they already dress nicely. So we're just trying to basically recontextualize it into hey, you're already doing these things, you're just not doing like the fifth thing to make yourself look a little bit better, to be more confident. And ironically, it's probably the most important of them because it has skin health considerations, and also like it's your face. Like I don't know what to say, but if you have a face that's smoother, fewer wrinkles, less acne, etc., like that means more on a date. That means more at work than if you have a nice shirt or not. So we just kind of recontextualize the entire thing, and then a major part of that is obviously reducing the stigma about this industry being for women. Some products are, a lot of makeup is, but skincare is not. Skincare is taking care of your skin, and guys have skin too.
Love that. That's got to be a bumper sticker somewhere. Guys have skin too.
Yeah.
So, what have you found in the journey of the last, 3 years it's been since you founded Krete with messaging? I love that idea of not trying to change behavior, trying to recontextualize a behavior that's already there, and I think that can really translate into any product or service, right? There's this
totally.
Where is that? How far can you stretch? And what have you found that's really worked to help recontextualize?
the generalized message of looking better is pretty powerful, but we found that the more we go into the specific issue, skin issue, or the specific desired outcome, the aspirational outcome that a customer wants, and that, an older guy, let's say 50 plus, 45 plus on Facebook, Instagram, that's where we target them. We do anti-aging stuff, and we make it fun. We maybe say, like, look younger than your friends, like, have them ID you at a bar again, something that might be a funny joke version of, like, look younger. But so for guys, 45 plus, it's usually anti-aging messaging. And so, we have anti-aging ingredients in our stuff, in all of our products. For guys who are younger, it's about general skin health. The aspirational message is more about maybe meeting someone romantically. It might just be about, like, your life's ahead of you. Like, it could be talking about how you're on Zoom and Instagram and TikTok all day and your face is just kind of front and center. It's really about figuring out, like, what is the status that someone wants to achieve in whatever social or economic group they're in, and then how do we have our product be a no-brainer tool for them to achieve that status. For instance, there was a commercial years ago that was for grass, fertilizer or something to do with grass, and the whole tagline was "Make your neighbors jealous." Like, that's funny because that's the status you'd want, is a great lawn would make your neighbor jealous. And it's like, yeah, why do you actually need a great lawn? If it's 100% healthy versus 90, your kids can still play on it, your dog can still run around on it, but it's the visual of that beautiful grass in front of your house making your neighbor jealous. So that's the kind of idea. It's like always figuring out a way to, like, how do we make you have higher status in whatever you value? And that can be challenging because, how do you figure that out? Well, we talk to a lot of customers, we talk to a lot of people, but also at the end of the day, we're a product that makes you look better. It's not that crazy to say, hey, if you look better, imprint your own better life here. And then the other part of it, like I said, is getting very into the weeds on understanding the problems that we're solving. Just saying you're going to look better, everybody does that. But, dry skin, why do we solve that? What does that look like? Do we have images that show before and afters? Can we show before and afters in a way that gets around Facebook's before and after law rules? Because they don't let you zoom in on a part of the face and do it before and after. That's against their rules, actually. So how we do that is we show it before, have someone apply it, and then show the product right after. Well, in order to do that, the product actually has to work like that. So there's a lot of kind of little nuances to the messaging and to finding the demographic. But then, an ad comes out and it's like, we get a guy who's 73, he has no wrinkles, he comes on, he says some funny line like, my head is as smooth as a baby's behind, my wife thinks I'm more attractive, so, you figure it out for yourself, here's Krete. So it's a kind of a couple of pillars of, we have to make sure we hit the problem, make sure we establish status, and then the last major one is make it the easiest thing for someone to do possible. If I said you're going to look great, but it's going to cost you a year at $1 million, you're not going to do that thing. If I say it's going to cost you $30 in 30 seconds, you'll probably do it. So our tagline is 30-second skincare to kind of reduce the denominator of the equation, make it so easy to get there. So that's kind of the template of a lot of our ads is, okay, it's a 30-year-old guy, let's talk about dry skin and acne. Let's say what would happen to you if you didn't have it anymore, and then remind you that it takes only 30 seconds to use. So kind of ABC, and it might be BAC, and then we test CBA, and we tested a lot of variations within that because you never really know. And then we test that with a variety of individual talent, lines said in different ways. There's still a lot of experimentation.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be, that line definitely hit me when I saw your marketing collateral, like under 30 seconds. I mean, as a guy myself, geez, yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got for skincare. I'm a dad to 2 as well. So it's like, there's no space. Yeah. Okay, cool. Like, so you were talking about, so you got the problem identification, the status that you, aspirational, that's what you call the aspirational kind of drive, and then this kind of solution, and that's the frame that you've been using.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, with certain products or services, you have to be a little clever. Like, right, like the grass example. That is, at the end of the day, people want a couple of things. They want to win in what, and they want to have status in whatever group they're in. So yeah, beating your neighbors is a big thing. And even if it's not for you individually, you can think about that and say, oh, I didn't even realize I wanted that. But yeah, I do want a lawn that's nicer than my neighbor's house, because people think relatively. It's just, it's a blessing and a curse of being a human, as we think relative to other people, you know? You get a bonus of $1,000, if the person next to you gets 2,000, all of a sudden you were happy, and now you're like, well, why didn't I, you know? So a lot of relativistic things. We don't really go super hard on that, because it's kind of a slippery slope. It's a little bit awkward to say, like, hey, look better than your friends. Maybe look younger than them when you're playing golf. We can kind of make it a little funny. But, yeah, you know, as a guy marketing to other guys like me, I'm not this like skincare everyday regimen guy. I was a bar of soap to wash the face, something I picked up at CVS for moisturizer. I was like a normal skincare guy. Like, the scar on my nose forced me to understand better ingredients, and products that worked just significantly better, what to avoid as much as anything. So when I write an ad with our team, it's like, well, would this make me want to buy this? Because if not, it's probably too complicated. It's probably not simple enough. It's probably not funny or compelling enough.
Yeah. So, and the feedback you're getting there that you're talking about, is that just talking to existing customers, or doing surveys out there trying to understand, you know, the language or the problem status that they're looking for?
Yeah, that was originally what we did. Now we get feedback, whether we like it or not, via customer service, via Facebook comments, Instagram comments. You know, it's funny. We get mostly positive feedback. We'll have customers messaging us, like, thanking us, saying the product works great. And you'll have someone crazy who says something like, yeah, the subscription, I want it every other month. It's like, okay, so those are logistical things that you can change. But the Facebook comments are actually quite funny. And, you know, we did a big exercise of this at the beginning, and we thought, okay, like, what is every way we can say look better? Look younger, look this, you'll get the girl, you'll get the promotion, you'll get the, like, what is every, and we had a huge list of them. And then, you know, we thought the ones that we liked the most, and we picked maybe 5, and we run ads. And a couple of them are winners, a couple of them are not. Winners you can make a couple variations. Oh, it might have been that talent and the way he said it versus the line itself. And, you know, you just keep kind of experimenting with small budgets of those kinds of things. And eventually you start settling on individual lines that work. You know, it takes only 30 seconds. And we show like 4 guys using it. It takes only 30 seconds. That we have in all our ads. Because every ad that has that does better than the ads that don't. And so we're pretty much locked for the next year. We're going to use that little clip. We call it the Brady Bunch, because it's like, you know, four guys, and it's reminds me of the Brady Bunch intro with the like all the family. Yeah. So yeah, it's like, I'll say that, you know, we'll break down our ads into kind of, I can't remember if it's 5 or 6 parts. It's something like that. It's like, stop the scroll, what gets you to stop, then the hook, then the intro to the actual product, then making sure to remove the risks, which is free shipping, easy returns, takes only 30 seconds. Then some sort of what we call a pre-CTA, which is kind of another hook, like, guys, you're going to want to try this. Guys, why wouldn't you look better? Then the CTA, which is the deal. So we kind of have sections. And so when we're recording content or working with an influencer and they say a great line, we immediately know where in our ads we can put that in. So, you know, if a guy says, man, I get compliments all day, that's a pretty good hook. We might start that at the beginning, or that could be a pre-CTA. We might end an ad, you know, oh, it's great in my skin, it's show an application. Guys, I get compliments all day. Click here to get 50% off. So we know what kinds of lines now fit where into ads. And what that lets you do is, with a couple pieces of content, the iterations are crazy. And sometimes just flipping, you know, second 2 to 4 and moving that back and moving something else forward, sometimes that makes a difference, just because the way people watch ads, you know, they have to stop. They have to stop and scroll. So from just the endless scroll. So that's a main thing that people don't really focus on, is how to get something visually interesting, potentially bizarre, that kind of relates to what the video is going to be about. So people don't feel tricked. For instance, when we were going hard and saying don't use oil serums because oil can clog your pores, we took oranges and we're like pouring lots of oil on them, and it was like, what is that? It just looked interesting. So that got 51% of people who stop and scroll. Normally 20 to 25% is really good. So this ad did crazy well, because if twice as many people are stopping, that means twice as many people have the chance to watch it, click in, buy. It's just the top part of the funnel. So that's kind of how we break down our ads. But now if we did something like a guy juggling oranges, that would have nothing to do with the oil serum part of it. And then people would be like, I feel tricked. So
Oh, man,
that's a little advice. Yeah.
I just love this. It's like micro testing, right? It's,
Yeah.
generally you discuss funnels. It's like you've got an ad, you've got an A/B test with a different ad, right? Or a completely different ad. Here you, if you've got those 5 combinations, you could be just swapping out one of those. You're running 5 ads, and just as you say, not CTA, but A, B, C, D. How many you got? E, and then you got a different sequence of these, and just chopping up the same content in a bunch of different ways. That makes a lot of sense to me, right? And then you can see, okay, well, this one's getting the, what you called it, the stopping the scroll, and then
stopping the scroll, yeah.
Kind of, it's almost like you got a little micro funnel within even the creative of one
absolutely,
ad.
because I've seen it, like you see the Dollar Shave Club viral video and you just go, okay, I like this, I want to be a part of this, whatever that means. Oh, and then the cheap razors, and they have shipping, and people make emotional decisions, and then they justify it or unjustify it with logic.
Yeah.
A high enough price point will have someone unjustify any decision. So, we have a good intro offer. We'd say it takes only 30 seconds. All that stuff is great. You need to want Krete, and then the fact that it takes 30 seconds matters. And so, we used to lead with, want to look better in only 30 seconds? And people would say, okay, it sounds a little scammy. Like, it sounds like
for sure.
unreal, and so we tried all kinds of combinations of what led. And then, so now we kind of, after a year or two of a lot of budget and ads and doing well, we kind of have a general idea of the story that people like to hear in an ad. It's something funny, something compelling, something that hooks them. One of our best ads was a guy saying stops the screen. He's sitting there and goes, I'm 73. But I bet you thought I was 50. Another version was, can you guess my age? I'm younger than you think. Something like that. And it's like, oh, this is kind of fun. I wonder what this guy's talking about. And he's like, yeah, I use Krete. A lot of people drop off once they realize it's an ad. 20, 30% of people who stay, they're interested because they know the result. This guy looks young. Okay, now they like it. Oh, it has great ingredients. It's clean, vegan, cruelty-free, and it takes only 30 seconds. And there's a great offer. Okay, I'll click. So you have to kind of hit people and make them care about your product. And not that they should care about Krete. They should care that it's going to work for them.
Sure.
A lot of people get very self-important with their own brands. We're saving the world with this. No, I'm trying to save your world. I'm trying to save your face. You need to immediately say, wow, I'm going to get the benefit of this instantly. There was Invisisocks had one of those funny ads, and it was just they were if the uninterrupted line of color of your socks, who notices it? Her. And it showed a hot girl, and I was like, this is so stupid, but it kind of works.
Yeah.
It's yeah, a girl will judge that my socks are peeking out. It's no, they won't. But it was funny because...
Was that the same guys that they did pulling a car by the front of the socks?
Yeah, he was drag,
these socks will never slip off your feet.
Yeah, they probably spent, I don't know, 50 to 200 grand or whatever on one of those Dollar Shave Club, Dr. Squatch, Poopery, Squatty Potty, bigger production comedy ads. Mm-hmm. And it was funny, and you know what? It made me interested enough to buy the socks. For no-show socks, they're not worth $16 or whatever I paid for them. In fact, they're probably worth less because they're less material. They're socks, but the ad just was funny enough, and they made socks into a status symbol or something like that, and it just was okay, you guys did a really good job at that. So our job should be easier than socks, because it's if you have good skin, who doesn't want to have good skin? It's not really that hard of a sell. Our issue usually comes back to the fact that we're selling to guys. It's usually about making them comfortable with not the feminine versus masculine thing, because we show you a bottle and we go do this for 30 seconds and you look better. So we don't talk about anything feminine or masculine. That should have no place in this. It's like washing with soap is not feminine or masculine. You should just wash with soap. But thing we have to do is education. Guys just like don't know. If they don't know what a serum is, why would they buy a product they don't know about? So it's really just about education. And so our approach is, don't worry about the product. It'll work. Just like, do you want this result in this time? Yeah. You know, everyone has to hear about something new at some point.
Yeah, man, that's really interesting. I'm still stuck on the kind of ad breakdown. I'm trying to think about. Yeah. So you use talent. So for those that don't kind of know the language, talent is a hired actor or a hired face to speak on behalf of the product. But do you see this? Have you used this in other spaces where you've had limited budget, or you've been able to just produce this stuff in-house?
It's a pretty small budget, to be honest. So we make sure that everyone who we record actually has used Krete. So even if I find someone off of Craigslist, like, hey, we need people, I'll put a thing out on Craigslist LA, which, you know, there's a million actors out of work looking for something. But we're not trying to get actors to be actors. We're trying to get just like people with a dry skin issue, with eczema, with tattoos, to like, we send them a bottle of Krete, and then we have a recording thing like a month later. So sometimes we'll have come in and like take some before pictures or some before video, and then we'll have them come in and do like a recording thing, and we don't give them lines. We're just like, hey, we're gonna sit here for like 4 hours and we're just gonna like talk and record, and some great stuff will come out of it, because we don't want to like feed people specific lines. Like, that's not, I just don't think that's authentic. And I think that that's just kind of as an engineering person, I don't believe in that. I think like, and the second thing is the performance of it is a lot more authentic when it's genuinely real. You know, if someone's sitting there and actually uses Krete and had a good reaction, it's like, I don't need to train them on acting. They're not an actor. They just say how they feel. But so, yeah, you can find someone on Craigslist for a couple $100. You get a set on Amazon. I used to record all of our content in my house, like, well, my apartment. Like, basically I have an iPhone. You get a stand, $10-15. You get a little thing that holds your iPhone. You put the grid on, so you know you're 30-something bucks in. You get a lighting set, just to get really into the weeds with this. You want, if you do that, you know, I think they're $80 to $120. They're worth it. Get 2 lights, the big ones with the little screens in front of them. You want it to be 54 or 5500 degrees Kelvin, because that's the same temperature as natural light. You want one in front and one kind of angled to the side to remove shadows behind people. And then you can just record people easily. You can record friends, family. Just have them speak naturally. Normally for the first 20 minutes, they'll be terrible because it's like a weird situation to talk into a camera. But yeah, so we recorded that stuff. And out of that, we had a bunch of people show up and recorded them. And that was most of our ad content for a while. Really cost us a couple $100, maybe $1,000 to get all of it recorded. I have a guy, I taught myself Adobe Premiere Pro. You know, I don't know what an Adobe thing is, $20, $30, whatever a month. I'm sure there's a free trial of it, you know, and we made some ads, and then I got someone else to do that for me. And now we work with some influencers who use it and give us content. But yeah, we did that all in-house because it was a way for us to, one, understand people's reactions, and two, break down ads and make them the way I kind of just described. You know, if we had all the content we needed, it's like, oh man, this guy just said a great line. Hey, can you say that again, but like a couple different ways? Like, oh yeah, my head is smooth as a baby's behind. It's like one guy said that, and we were like, all right, that's ridiculous. Can you say that a couple ways? That's been in our ads for like a year for the older demographic. So yeah, it's definitely more work to do that, but it's not expensive.
Yeah. And we've been talking a lot about video. Is that the kind of ad space that you lean into the most? Have you seen different results and different? Yeah.
At least just died, but yeah, video for us is everything, because people want to hear a story, and then also people are just used to video content. If you think about TikTok, Instagram, like, you know, other than maybe some memes, like the era of me just kind of standing there with like a nice picture on Instagram, like that's starting to feel like Facebook. I remember when that first started on Facebook, I was in college, and then Instagram was like the new version of that, and then it became video. Video is like 90 something percent of the content that most people consume on these platforms now. Obviously, TikTok is entirely video. Static images also, they're good for retargeting, because if someone already knows your brand and kind of likes it, especially maybe if they've purchased before or if they've clicked in your brand, they know you a little bit more. So retargeting a static image can just remind you like, hey, we exist and we do stuff you might need. But if you really want to tell like a story, like, hey man, I felt bad about my skin, I used this, now I feel good, it took 30 seconds, whatever. Static images just do not cover it. They don't even get you 10% the way there. So we do use static images. I mean, they're a dream. They take 20 minutes for me to edit, or we have, a designer too. And one of the two of us is like, we take a frame from one of the videos, put some text on it, more or less, that's what it is. But, they only work for retargeting in our experience. I'm sure they can work for other people, but look, video is not that hard to record. And, sometimes you hear someone say something in a specific way and it almost forces your hand to go buy something or do something. Someone's like, I just had the time of my life in Hawaii, and like, man, I'll never forget this trip. And maybe it just resonates with you and somehow, and you're like, okay, it's an expensive trip, but I want that feeling. You can't really get that feeling or emotion across in static images.
Yeah, man, I'm thinking about, not only the storytelling there, but just, tying in your background of economics and maths and this kind of scientific brain coming out.
Yeah.
And do you use that kind of testing in other spaces like messaging, like emails, SMSs? I don't know what channels you're looking at.
I'll tell you, it's both a blessing and a curse to be like this, So, I was a singer. I did other kinds of artistic endeavors. So I thankfully have the ability to like be creative. But yeah, at the end of the day, you have to have your creativity in some sort of framework so that you can test it. I don't want to write some great line, have it do well, but not understand why and not have that be repeatable. You don't want flashes in the pan. So, you kind of have to analyze the reasons why these things work. But yeah, it's with other channels, we test so much. For instance, I just had, actually before this, a lot of our email people are on the East Coast. So we usually try to get like whatever we're doing for the week done early in the morning. Because you usually want to send emails out earlier, just because the way we do it is we A/B test subject lines. So we usually send one normal one and one, let's see how ridiculous we can make it. So like, 20% discount coming your way versus holy shit, like, whatever. I don't know. We don't curse, but like you say something ridiculous that's like, oh my God, you're never going to believe what this is. Like, what is this brand doing? Wow, something funny. And so we A/B test that, and how that works is you can just set it in Klaviyo, which is the email service provider we use. Some people use MailChimp or other ones. We use Klaviyo. It's great. You set it where like at 9 a.m., you send that to like 20% of the list. 10% gets one email, 10% gets the other. After those people have opened it, after like 5-6 hours, it says, okay, A got an open rate of 35% and B got an open rate of 22%. Okay, A wins. To the rest of the list, send email A. And that's just like a standard feature in these email service providers like Klaviyo. So, we do that for a campaign. We do that for our flows. And then maybe we say, okay, well, the outrageous ones keep winning. So like the new rule, never write boring email subject lines, or never write boring ones for a deal, or for a deal, write the more. We found that for a deal, the more outrageous they are, the more like sometimes people just want to see a number like, hey, get 20% off. We don't need to, the deal sells itself kind of a thing. Because again, you're only emailing to people who came to your site, gave you their emails, so they already have some interest. So again, each channel has its own context. We've actually found that SMS for us works the best.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy. We'll send an SMS out and an email. The SMS took us 15 minutes to write. Maybe we attached the GIF, maybe not. We'll send it out. Hundreds of people, like within 10 seconds, are on the site because it's so instantaneous. It converts a lot better. And we're like, well, it's also 5% of the work of writing and coding and whatever with emails. So it's like, okay, so about 2 weeks ago, we decided to do more on SMS. But
Yeah.
yeah, you kind of have to have that approach because it does two things. If you're not doing that great in a channel, email, SMS, paid ads, social, you'll know and you'll be able to do changes to get away from the stuff that's not working. And the other is if something's working well, you'll know how to improve that or do more like that. So, every
Yeah.
week we're removing bad ads and saying, okay, these ads did great. Well, let's do 5 more exactly like that. Let's just change the first hook. Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the good reminder. All of those good reminder. I mean, the text thing is an interesting space. It's just so instant, as you say. It's like people,
Yeah.
and
I
we're
thought it
so
was,
trained into like clicking
yeah.
on a text. We don't have the unread text in our phone.
I actually had to be convinced of it a little bit because I thought we'd be annoying people. I was like, we're going to text people? Like, that's so obnoxious. I hate it when I get texts from other brands. It's like, because I'm like, oh, friends texting me 50% off this bullshit thing. I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah.
So for me, it annoys me. But then, like my brother who works with us as well, he's our kind of creative director. He's like, dude, you just have to understand that these people like opted into it. Like they opted in to get text as you did, and you can just hit stop. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then we really started doing it because we didn't have a bigger list until a couple months ago. And then we started doing it. And it was like, well, once I look at the numbers, it takes us 15 minutes to make a text and it outperforms our email. And then it just changes our whole like weekly revenue when we send 2
Yeah.
texts out. Like, okay, that's that we can do. The amount of lift and like work put into the revenue generated is like it's easily the best thing we do. So it's like, all
Yeah.
right, we'll do text.
Oh man, that's a good reminder, and really love that kind of micro staging in even one ad. I think that's a really great insight for people to kind
I'll
of
give you
apply. And
one more small detail about text because I just wish someone had told me these things. There are specific state laws that regulate text because it's a more invasive, like you're not
yeah,
emailing someone, it gives them a notification. So I think Florida has a rule and other places about like quiet hours. So if someone is going to do it, make sure you look up state rules because you can like get penalized. I think Florida you can't send before 9 a.m. or after like 8 p.m. Like they'll penalize you severely. So, you have to segment out Florida residents or just send them all in the middle of the day. So just be aware that like there are rules that regulate SMS for anyone thinking
yeah,
about it. It's totally Googleable. It's just if you didn't know that was a thing to Google, you would probably not do it.
yeah. Skip the queue. Don't learn by stubbing your own toe. Let's take that
No,
advice.
we didn't, but we know
Um,
friends who have. Yeah.
yeah. Well, you seem to have skipped the queue in a couple different ways with your own business. It sounds like I'm speaking to kind of a marketing agency owner as opposed to just a business owner. Is
Yeah,
is
it's
your
funny.
is your marketing kind of expertise just hard won through experience, or have you kind of been
100%.
following a few folks that you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I like to break things down. What I don't remember much about my econ and math degree. I mean, granted, I graduated 12 years ago, but the things that it showed me was when you see something, either a problem or a solution, it showed me methods of breaking them down. Math after you get out of high school is all proofs. You're literally like x plus 1 equals 2. What is x? Okay, that's like a 2-second algebra problem. But then like y. It's like, oh God, there's 15 pages of I made up that problem, but like you'd be writing like pages of proofs to explain things. So I just got in the mindset at a young age of like, okay, why is this thing going badly? Let's like really dig in. Then you read some business books. One of them describes like I think it's the 5 whys of Toyota. I think it's like the lean analytics method or lean startup or something like that. Basically, it's like if you have a problem or a solution, ask why enough times and you'll get to it. Sales are down this month. Why? Well, because and our ads aren't performing. Why? Well, we didn't really change our content from last month. Well, why? Because, Steve, who does the content, was sick this month. Well, okay, it's like, okay, well, why did
Mm-hmm.
we have a situation that if one guy's sick, our company does work. You can usually get to the root of a problem if you ask why enough. And so that's just my general personality. And I've done that with marketing. I did that with the formulations. I learned chemistry and made our formulas myself because formulators were 20 grand and we're going to take 12 months. And I was like, okay, well, it's mixing a couple things in a beaker, right? Let me just buy all the ingredients. I'll do 20 a day, and a month later I'll have something. And I mean, it more or less was that for serums. It's not like that for concealer and certain other more complex products. But yeah, it's just a curiosity of understanding how things work. And then it's like, well, I see ads all the time. If I like an ad, I'll screen record it, and then I'll share it with my team, and we'll be like, well, why did this work? We're like, well, it was authentic in this way. The guy said this line. And we're like, okay, what's our version of that line? And we'll go find someone to say it. So
Yeah.
you kind of break things down all the time as a personality. You end up learning things, just at
Yeah. I love that. I love that. There's all these tips right in front of us all the time. What's grabbing your attention? What are you clicking on? How to and why? Yeah.
If you see an ad and you're just like, wow, that's really funny, think about why it's funny. What about it made you laugh? What about it made you want something? I mean, we are blessed to be served with a lot of other creative departments at a lot of other brands, competitors or not, that are putting money into the creative, the editing, and the running of these ads. And so another little secret is you can just go on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok's ad libraries for your competitors, and you can see what ads they're running and how long they've been running them. So if you see an ad that's been running for a while, nobody's stupid. They're not going to run an ad for 3 to 6 months if it's not doing well. So you might not even understand why it's doing well, but you can start to use these tools to say, well, their guy is talking about this in this way, and they used a girl trying to convince guys, okay, well, we haven't done that yet. Maybe we try to go do that. So you can get a lot of ideas just from seeing what other smart people are putting money into.
Yeah. Again, skipping the line, not stubbing your toes on wasting your own marketing spend. That's a great tip as well. Well, man, it's been a great conversation. Anything you feel like we've missed out that you wanna bring back in the marketing space? I'm gonna give you definitely want to hear more about your company and where people can find you. But
marketing is constantly chasing what's next. It's a little insane. So, if that's going to be your part of whatever company you're doing, prepare to have that be the main and only part. I hired a guy to do our ads. I hired a guy to do our creative briefs and record the content. So I've had to remove myself a little bit from those that I was doing all of that. But, I did it, so I know how to manage that. But yeah, it's an ad will be doing great for a week and then terrible the next week. And we're it just no idea why. And then it'll come back. We'll relaunch it in 2 months. It'll do great for 3 months. Things change, whether it's seasonality, whether it's the news that day, whether it's completely random who Facebook served it to. But marketing is kind of a constant change and improvement grind. So, if you have some core principles, it helps you at least go in the right direction. But yeah, it's not for the faint of heart, and it can get expensive. It's our major cost is an acquisition cost. Our products have great margins, our fulfillment's easy. What we pay to acquire a customer is big, and then there's another consideration with marketing, which is how good is your product. This thing is the best facial serum on earth. If you get it, it's gonna make your skin amazing. You're gonna look younger if you use it consistently for a month. Your wrinkles, fine lines, yada yada. It's a good product. So to me, our marketing gets that in your hand. But the second, third, fourth, fifth time you buy, you have our product. No ad on earth is going to convince you to buy it or not. If you like it, the product will market itself the second, third, and fourth time. So for us, we're a retention business. We have almost no returns. It's less than 1%. So we can afford to pay more to acquire a customer, which is harder. An older guy using new skincare, it's a harder customer to get. But we can spend more to get you because we know you're loyal for life because our product works and everything. So that's another consideration is acquisition cost versus lifetime value.
Yeah. Good advice, man. Well, thanks for the conversation. It's been very interesting. Yeah. And where can we find out more about what you're doing? Maybe keep track of you.
krete.club. That's CLUB. So Krete.club. We have two products right now, a facial serum and a body serum. Again, I formulated them. We've sold so many thousands of each of them. They work super well. They have hyaluronic acid, apple stem cell extract from Switzerland, like the literal best ingredients. These are actually originally the machines I made them with. This is a filling machine, and that's a labeling machine. So like
Awesome, man.
we made sure that quality control was like unbelievable. Now we outsource it to a lab I work with. But yeah, Krete.club, our products work great. But also if you want to email me, I'm Jake@Krete.club, and I usually make time to answer questions of people who are just trying to start a business or have general marketing questions or whatever.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks so much for being, for sharing your expertise and your experience, and for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Thanks for listening to the Clear Brand Academy podcast, where we take the mystery out of marketing and help you get more leads and sales with a clear brand and proven marketing tactics. If you liked this podcast, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to outsource your marketing to our team, go to clearbrand.com.